Hey, y'all. Welcome back. If you've been here a lot, and I'm so excited that you're here today. First of all, I want you to pat yourself on the back for showing up today and pouring into yourself for a little bit of self-growth. I am so proud of you. I have a special guest for you today that I have had the honor to work with and be coached by in her Success Academy. She has taught me how important self-care is.
Mhm.
We have spent a lot of time together at different conferences. We even had this glorious time in Costa Rica together. Oh, it was magical. So today I titled this episode, Success Starts with Self-Care. And my special guest I have for you today is a seasoned speaker and international coach guiding individuals, teams, and audiences in creating thriving personal lives and successful business results. And y'all, she has her very own podcast that ranks in the top 1% of all global podcasts. As a newbie in this podcast world, that is mind blowing. And oh my gosh, I'm so honored that she's taken the time for us today. But before founding her very own company, the Lighthouse Principles, Tiffany worked with and for many popular brands. Franklin Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the world famous Rich Dad, Poor Dad series, and Jack Canfield, the creator of Chicken Soup for the Soul series, helping each of these brands set new sales records and experience expansive new growth. Tiffany is passionate about empowering others with proven universal success habits and her tried and true sales strategies. She has coached people all around the globe to successfully create with intention a life and a business that they love. Please welcome Miss Tiffany Peterson, my true friend that I love.
Sweet girl. I'm so happy to be with you. I mean, you're a fellow hot redhead. It's like we just have so much fun and energy together. And I'm so looking forward legit to this conversation. So, I'm excited to what we create and share here together today. But thank you for having me, love.
Thank you so much. Yes, we have connected with our redheads, right?
Team
But
Ginger.
I just wanted to share like what you've brought into my life and really why I
Mhm.
want you to share the idea of self-care and slowing down and pouring into our cups first to start off with. When I first met Tiffany, she was this peaceful, like you'll learn and listen to her today. She's soft-spoken and sweetheart, and I love her. And I was at a point in my life that I just like couldn't connect because I was just so full of like, I don't know, taking care of other people and rushing and not necessarily taking that peaceful time for myself. So she's taught me that. And then I have connected with her so
Mhm.
deeply in realizing that the calm that comes over when you take care of yourself. So I really want you to dive in and
Yeah.
share your tips. Like your morning routines are huge. Like what got you
Mm.
into this? Why did you realize, or when did you realize too, that, this all starts with self care?
hmm Well, sometimes I appreciate that. And thank you for seeing that. I'm a calm firecracker.
And
So
I
it's
love
like,
it.
right, like an oxymoron of both, as you know, where it's like there's both. But I think about, this conversation is layered and there's depth to it. I think basic math, if every one of you listening asks yourself, when you feel better, do you show up better? When you feel better, do you perform better? When you feel better, do you have more patience in your parenting? When you feel better, are you more likely to serve and love and extend kindness? When you feel better, are you more likely to go for your goals, right? And the answer is yes. I mean, that's what we call basic math. And I think foundationally, at the heart of this conversation is your most important relationship on the planet is the one with yourself. And it's definitely the one that will have the most influence on everything else in your life, right? Like your self-confidence, your self-esteem are like your fingerprints, and it's all over everything in your life. How you feel about you, right? And how you see yourself. And, again, this is a layered conversation from identity and esteem to self-care. But self-care is evidence of self-love. Ooh, that's good. I've never said it that way
That
before.
is good.
Yeah, I'm like, ooh, that has some zing to it. But self-care is the fuel in the tank. They're the habits. They're the behaviors. They're the choices that says, you know what? I'm worthy and valuable. I'm worth investing in. And some of us, all of us at some point, we don't always feel worthy. We don't always feel confident. We don't always feel on our game, so to speak, or we don't always feel, vivacious and attractive. Oftentimes we've dealt with all the other opposite feelings. We feel unworthy. We feel lame. We feel dumb. We feel less than. We feel left out. We feel all kinds of self-doubt and insecurity because that's part of being in a human body. And that is why I'm so super motivated about helping others love themselves and take better care of themselves because of my own personal journey, right? Like growing up, I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah. And I remember like going through life, late elementary, junior high time, and I just had no self-confidence. Right. And I think about, there were some other things at home. My parents had divorced when I was younger, and my mom had remarried a gentleman that we called the Unabomber. How kind of us, right? He was just kind of interesting soul. I have such empathy for anyone ever trying to blend families because it is a lot. But here I was, I think about the woman I've become, but I had no self-confidence growing up in my youth, in my teen years, right? And so much self-doubt. And sometimes as you've heard me share this from stage, sometimes my 8th grade self still shows up as an adult woman. The same insecurities. How do I look? How do I sound? Do I fit in? Am I wanted? Am I included? Where am I at? Did I say the wrong thing, or the right thing? The over-analysis. And so again, all of us are in a human body and a human experience, and every one of us know at times we feel awesome and we feel great and we feel confident, we feel good. And all of us also know the opposite, where we feel insecure, we feel tired, lethargic, worn out, exhausted, insecure, And so this conversation for me, I'm so passionate about it because it's so near and dear to my own heart and how much change has happened in my own path. But I also know that foundationally, those two key things, when someone feels better, they show up better. And foundationally, I know that when someone has more energy and more self-confidence, then they are going to expand into their potential. They're going to grow. They're going to be more like their God or goddess self, because growth is God. When you're growing, you're more like your divine higher creator, right? Because he is the ultimate creator. And so when you're in growth mode, and when you're like, oh, I'm going to push my boundaries to my growth, meaning like I'm going to create and move, you're more in your highest expression of self. And so, yeah, I love this conversation. But foundationally, just knowing each of you, we all feel the various feelings, but to come into a place where realizing that we can make choices and habits that we can shape a different path if we choose it.
Absolutely. And I remember sitting beside you in Costa Rica, and I wrote in my little notebook, I am a goddess.
You are a goddess.
And you put, it's the idea of what we think of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And the more that we're taking care of ourselves, if you treat your body like it's a temple and that this is the only one that we ever get, right? The more we take care of it, the better it gives us back. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
I have filled my cup up every morning. I start my morning every day. Maybe touch base
Mm-hmm.
a little bit on this, on how important that morning ritual is. That
Mm-hmm.
I would love for you, because you created that for me.
Mm-hmm.
You pushed that for me. You introduced that to me. And I have not swayed from that since our
Girl,
coaching.
I'm so
Like,
happy. I'm hugging
yeah,
you through the screen.
I really, like, it has been life changing. Is I start my day with me. I don't look at my phone. I start my
Mm-hmm.
day as soon as I get up. I do 10 minutes of yoga to myself.
Mm-hmm.
I will be honest, I try to do 5 minutes of meditation. That is not my strong point, but I'm trying.
There you go. You're
But
working on it.
but the 10 minutes to myself every day, no matter what, starting has changed my world. It gets my mind in check with who I am and who I need to be today before I'm trying to show up for everyone else or compare myself immediately to other people. Like, oh, well, I didn't do that yet, or I didn't do that yet. I'm like, oh, no, 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 this is about me. So
Mm-hmm.
share that a little bit on what you taught us in the group that we were in about how important it is to start with you.
Yeah. Well, I think one thought I just want to introduce here, because some of you are going to have resistance to, gosh, is this selfish of me? Right. Again, many of your audience, I'm assuming, are women, right? Women
Yeah.
and men. But both women and men can feel this way, but especially women. That's where I spend more of my time with. Many of them are moms. They have kids. They have lives that are really full. And they feel, oh, is that selfish of me, to take time to work out, to go to yoga, to start my morning this way, to get a massage or, take time to read or do the things off my joy list, those types of things. But realizing one of my most popular, most downloaded shows of all time is a show called Self-Care is Spiritual. And we talk about not only is self-care not selfish, right? Where we're trying to like eke out and get a little for ourselves and try to, is this okay? And we're trying to, versus having a full embodiment and acceptance and lean into that actually your self-care practices are quite spiritual in nature. Because again, when you rewind what we were just saying, that when you feel better, you show up better. When I feel better, I'm a better wife, which I'm still getting used to saying that word because I just
Yeah,
got married a few months ago
I
to this
know, and I
hot,
love you
handsome
too.
man.
Your hot, handsome
Oh,
husband.
just love him. But, I show up better like for you this morning. It's like before I'm ever even on this session with you or the other appointments I have today, I did take time for reading and prayer and moving my body and doing things that nourish my body, my heart, my spirit, but that we start our day with that way. But again, I just like to foundationally make the link that my loves, all of you listening, is actually one of the most spiritual things you could do for yourself and others is to take better care of you, to take care of you. You're this vessel, and that vessel needs energy and needs, time to be invested in. And doing so is actually an investment in everyone you do life with. And that's a different perspective reframe is me investing in me is actually an investment in Aaron today, right? And into
Yes.
the people in my life. And if you have children or grandchildren or your clients or your neighbors or even complete strangers, again, when I feel better, I show up better. When I feel better, I'm more likely to serve and take care of better care of other people because I have a well to draw from. The irony is when I'm not feeling great or I don't take time for me and I'm more stressed, more anxious, more bummed or exhausted, guess who I'm more focused on in those times? That actually not taking care of me invites me to be more selfish. Isn't that interesting?
That is
How we
very
see it
interesting,
differently.
and I totally see it like that because I've had instances, I mean, not even just recently when I was kinda a little worn down, and I'm like, "I need some rest," but I was getting short because I
Mhm.
hadn't taken care of myself. I was just getting
Right.
really short with my family, and I'm like,
Getting real edgy.
I need some alone time. I need some
Yeah.
just space to breathe, and
Yep.
the same thing, preaching it to the entire audience in the world that I give more when I give myself more.
It's so
Because
true. I just think if everyone thinks about it from the term of energy, right? Everything's energy and everything is energy and energy is everything. And when you look at it from energy, so most often people hire me to grow their business, right? And they're saying that's my background heavily is in sales and sales training and sales funnels and how to help you create consistency with your marketing. Yet foundationally, we always go to self-care first. That self-care is your number one sales strategy. Because again, everything being energy. I remember a seasoned sales trainer. This man's done massive amounts of sales training and written books and traveled all around the world. Years and years ago, he tried to recruit me for a bit to move to Scottsdale and work for his team. But I remember he said something where he said the person in the sales interaction that comes to the table with the most energy always wins. And when you think
yes.
of that and you go, ooh, so it's about, again, energy for your spiritual walk. It's energy for your children. It's energy, though, for your sales and your growth. And so coming to that, but to your question of how you start your day shapes your day. And I love the morning ritual. I call it morning ritual because therefore you get to decide how much time it is. But I invite people to at least begin their day with the first 10 minutes of the day, what I call the sacred 10. And the key question I want you asking yourself is what nourishes me? So all of you listening, write that down for me in your notes. What nourishes me? And that is what you're after is nourishment, right? And so different things to different people. And for some of you, you might really thrive with meditation. For Erin, that may not be her thing. She doesn't have to, if that's not nourishing her, let it go, right? But you might say time in my devotional or getting on a walk or a run or prayer or gratitude journaling. I'm going to do something though that has nourishment, right? Body, mind, heart, or spirit that nourishes you before you begin your day. Too many people begin their day on their smartphone. I've done it. You've done it. We've all done it. It's
Yes,
not a right
ma'am.
or wrong thing, right? But sometimes consider it in this way. If everything's energy and every interaction you have on your smartphone is an attention unit, right? It's like you've opened a browser. And so imagine when you wake up in the day and you're still laying in bed, some of you are in pajamas, some of you are buck naked, right? You get to choose how you sleep and what you sleep into, by the way. You do what you do
Yeah, you do
you.
you.
But imagine you're laying in bed and you get on your smartphone first thing, right? You pick up your phone and you have maybe say 4 or 5 texts that have come in since you put your phone down last night. You now imagine those 4 and 5 people into your bedroom. Okay.
I love this
Now,
visual.
right? It's a great visual. And
Yeah.
then you check your email real quick. And let's say there's 13 emails that came in overnight, right? That have come in and, marketing or various things, or someone getting back to you about something you emailed yesterday. And now those 13 people have just come into your bedroom. And then you get on your Instagram and you scroll your feed. And even if you're moving fast, your brain in nanoseconds is identifying if that's a post you want to heart and like, or you want to stop and read, or you're scrolling by fast, right? But you're taking enough cognition to recognize, do I pause? Do I move on? And imagine you between seeing a few stories and feeds, like there's 25 people. And of course, since you checked Instagram, you got to check Facebook. So then you hop over to Facebook, another 25 people. Well, you guys, before you even get out of bed, some of you have like 75 people in your bedroom energetically.
Right.
You've invited them in energetically. And when you see it that way, you go, oh my gosh, what the heck are all these people doing in my private space? I'm in my pajamas. What's happening here?
Right.
And again, I'd love to be in my bed and Netflix or scroll my phone. That's not the point, but it's start your day. I don't start my day that way. Even if you use your cell phone for an alarm, right? You can put your data to airplane mode, or you train yourself, or even put a Post-it note over your phone of like, hey, baby, we're starting the day with intention. We're starting our day with nourishment. I had to do that in the beginning. I literally wrote myself a note right next to my phone, right on top. I'd put it right on top of my phone. Hey, sweetheart, we're starting our day with intention. We're starting our day with nourishment, because I was rewiring my brain for a new habit. So sometimes you need the reminders. And it's just this power is like, even if my alarm goes off, I just turn it over face down. I pray and I read from Jesus Calling. And some days that's my morning ritual, prayer and a short, devotional read. Some days it's more, right? Where there's more reading or a meditation or getting up and moving and those types of things. But I just invite you to start your day with some kind of nourishment, because it's the way that you, again, start your day as you're framing your day. And I want you to start your day with yourself, your higher power or your higher purpose, that you get nourished before you move into the business of interacting with the rest of the world.
I want to share too, real quick. I put a reminder on my phone. Like you said, you put a Post-it. I put a reminder that pops up every single day. It's been there for a year since we started working together. That my alarm goes off and a reminder pops up on my phone. I have it set for the same time that says, but first, yoga. So there's times that you do, life gets busy. You're like, oh my gosh, whatever.
For sure.
But no matter what, even when my alarm isn't set on the weekend, possibly, which is glorious sometimes, but when it doesn't have to be set, when I first look at my phone, it says, but first yoga. So that reminds me, no matter what's going on in my brain, even if I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to check this email, I got to check the social media post. It's like, no, but first yoga. So I think that's a really good tip for the audience to remember. Sometimes you set that reminder. Like, don't like it just, we always need reminded of our own things. And that has held me accountable for this last year of doing this, because it says, but first, like, because your brain is already like, oh, I got to do this, but no, but no, but no. So I love that. And I also, another tip that you shared in our training together was my phone is now plugged in, not where I can reach it from my bed.
Yeah, you got to get out of bed for it.
Yes, I got to get out of bed for it. But I also, when I go to bed at night for my nightly routine, I'm not laying in bed staring at my phone. So I'm not inviting those people in my bed at night before I go to bed either.
Yeah. It's like,
I'm
oh,
like,
I love that.
I just put it up and out of my way. And it just brings me so much more peace in my life to be with my own thoughts. And I'm not really great at journaling, but I'm trying to get better. And I'm in a new Bible study with some incredible women that I'm learning. So that's the things that I'm filling my brain with at night, not everybody else's business. So it's just taking that.
Look at how healthy that is.
It is.
Like, I just love even
so
you,
healthy.
just as you're talking about it, and your energy and your glow that you have is like, What you're really modeling for yourself is I matter
Yes.
and my energy matters, and I'm going to take care of me. I'm going to protect me. I'm going to show up for me. As humans, we came into the world dependent on other humans caring for us. And I love that we're super connected, because it isn't either or. Do I have a great relationship with me or have great relationships with others? It's yes and yes.
Yes.
Foundationally is, how do you show up for you? Because too often we're like, hey, does someone else like me? Do they approve of me? Validate me? What do they think of me? People pleasing, all of that. And well, again, having rich connection matters. Having rich connection with yourself and having your own back that says, how am I going to show up for me? And that my energy, I'm going to, what, our friend that we just saw in Tampa at the Align conference, Trent Shelton, where he uses the phrase, protect your peace. The
Yes.
sweethearts listening, you've got to protect your peace, and you got to protect that energy of like, what's coming in my home, what's coming in my brain, what comes in my body, what's coming into my spirit. And we get really intentional about, again, like you're talking about, an evening ritual, the way you put your brain to bed, your spirit to bed, as well as the way you wake yourself up. And again, it's not having any judgment, because are there times have I perfectly started my day without my technology first? No, of course I've done that.
Right.
But
Right.
the majority
We're
of the
human.
time, right, my consistent habit is to start my day with some kind of, again, the discernment here is what nourishes you. Some form of nourishment, spiritual nourishment, physical nourishment, like the yoga, like the bike ride, like the stretching, like the reading or listening to something that nourishes you. And so I think the biggest thing here, though, the bridge to cross, because most every one of you listening, this isn't a new idea. Like, oh my gosh, I've never heard of this before. We may have said a few things that have changed your thinking about it or seen it in a new light, but more of you than not likely already knew before you listened to this show with Erin and I, that starting your day with intention, or a power hour or morning ritual, you've probably already experienced it at least once or twice, if not multiple times in your life, and you know it. We're just inviting you into the conversation at this moment of saying, am I living it consistently? Not perfectly, but fairly consistently. And the bridge to cross here is the decision. Because a lot of times we hear all kinds of things like, oh, that's a great idea. Like, I should make my bed in the morning, or I should eat greens and vegetables, or drink more water, or take my supplements, or I should get some sunshine, or whatever the things are we know. Or it's like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. But idea to living it is where transformation happens. And so the question really is, what decision do I need to make about this? And I just find, like, I decided years ago, this is how my morning begins. Because if we haven't really decided, Erin, then what tends to happen with any habit we're trying to implement is we decide in the moment based on how we feel, right? Like, ooh, I decided last night I was going to get up and go to the gym, for instance, right? Or do a workout. But this morning, now that it's like 6 degrees
Right.
and I'm freezing cold, we have a cold front right now, and I'm snuggled under these warm covers, I don't feel like doing that. So if we haven't really decided, it's easy in the moment to let our feelings run the show. And sometimes our feelings aren't going to match our higher self, our goddess self, that's saying, I want more of a rich life. And that includes some habits like starting my day with some nourishment to do that. And so my invitation to all of you listening is, what decision do you need to make? And deciding, how is your day going to start every day? That you don't have to redecide. You don't have to use precious energy deciding. You've already decided. And now it's just, I take the action. And again, some mornings and days, my morning ritual is 5 minutes. Some days it's 45 minutes. And it just depends on what's happening and the schedule and sleep quality, or things like that. So give yourselves grace, because this is definitely not one thing we want to tune into with self-care and give you one more thing that you go, oh, I'm just not measuring up, because you've got enough of that voice in your head. But just realizing, again, that we come into a place like, because I love myself, I have intentional habits in place. Because I love myself, I move my body, not punishment. I'm not exercising because of what I ate last night, and this is, quote, punishment for that, or paying my dues that way. It's no, because I love myself, I'm going to take time for quiet or reading, or giving myself the ability to, put myself to bed in a kinder manner, right? That's one I'm going to just publicly own. I get to be better at, is putting myself to bed with more intention. My morning ritual is dialed. But my evening one, I could be better at more intentionally and making that decision, like, okay, how I'm doing that. Most nights I do go to bed with some intention, but not always.
Yeah, sometimes we do take on a lot. So like you said, I love how you're like, you have to give yourself some grace. It's not going to be
Yeah.
every time, but it's what you do consistently that changes our lives.
Yes.
And
So true.
it's so rich. Oh my gosh, it's so rich. Like my heart's so full. Like you fill up my heart every time that you speak, just because you breathe that belief into every man and woman, but everyone, that we can do better for ourselves. And when we do better for ourselves, we show up so much better as a wife, as a mom, as a friend,
Mhm.
as a coworker, as a business owner. We just show up better. So yeah,
So
I
true.
just thank you
And
so
you
much.
just feel better. Like, again, I
Yes.
think about life is like every one of you listening, you deserve to feel better more often. No one feels perfect all the time. That's not real. But mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, you deserve to feel better, right? And have more richness in the day to day. And a lot of things in life, how many times we've heard it's the little things in life or the little things in a relationship that make it and make it beautiful and amazing. And so some of these really, in many cases, little things are such a difference. I do have a free download on my website if anyone wants some support and a template and a little couple of worksheets to go through this and really dial in your own self-care practices. And you simply find that at tiffanyspeaks.com. And the website, that's the website. The tab at the top says free resources. So tiffanyspeaks.com. Click the tab free resources. And if you scroll down, it's the second one. It says the self-care guide. It's free, no strings attached. And you can download it and have those worksheets to support you as you're dialing this in. So that's something that I think that's always kind of helped me, is writing it out, seeing it, kind of mapping it when I'm trying to create something new.
Yeah, it's just like journaling. It kind of holds yourself
Yeah.
accountable. You're like claiming this that you have
Mhm.
decided. I think there's really strong words in that. Like Brooke used that at a line is I've decided.
Mhm.
You're not deciding. You're like,
Decisions, everything,
wishy-washy. I'm like,
loves.
I've decided I'm going to take care of myself better this year.
Yes,
So I love it.
1000%.
Well, thank you so much. You've
Mhm.
kind of done it a little bit, but I want it to be big and bold at the end. At the end of every podcast, I always share with my audience like a dare. So, what do you dare the audience to do?
Well, I think the obvious is I dare you to start your day with a morning ritual. If you've already got that dialed in, then your extra credit, so to speak, or your bonus is to tune in and ask yourself, what area of my self-care do I want to up level? Even 5%, 10% more. And for some of you, that might be your physical movement or your water or supplementation. Or some of you, it's like, yeah, I've dialed those things in, but I need more space and time in my life for my joy. And I'm going to do more
Yes.
things off what I call your joy list that help bring that too. But that's my dare, is wherever you need this the most, tune in and ask yourself, what do you need, sweetheart? Right? What do I need physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally? What am I needing more of in my own self-care right now? And honor what comes up for you.
I love it. Thank you so much. That's a great dare. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. So the
Thank you
other
for
thing is
having
we
me,
want to
Lovey.
support you as much as possible. I know I will drop in the show notes everything with this free download and everything, but can you give a shout out to where anyone can find you and support you, and what can we do for you?
Hmm. You can find me on Instagram, Tiff Peterson, or Facebook, Tiffany Peterson. You can also find the podcast on Apple, iTunes, or Spotify as well. It's simply under my name, the Tiffany Peterson Podcast.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you,
I
love.
feel so honored that you took the time with us today. And thank you. Have a very
You're
blessed
welcome.
day.
Can I share something about you before we wrap?
Oh, yeah, of course.
So
Thank you.
I want you all to know something just great and sweet about Erin, is that, as she mentioned, so we met through the Align conference through our mutual friend Brooke a couple of years ago, the first time, right? Crossed paths, and then
Yep.
connected last January. And then, as she mentioned, we went to Costa Rica together. But this just gives you an indication of who Erin is. Erin was wearing in Costa Rica the most darling, dainty, but beautiful cross necklace. And it was this cross necklace and then this other layer of a necklace that's like a plain band. Yeah, you can see it if you're here on video, if you can see it on video. But for those of you listening to audio, and I just loved it. I was like, oh, Erin, I love that. Where's it from? And she goes, I got it at Walmart. And I was like, yes, I love when we're like ooh, I found these great pants at Amazon or something like that.
Right,
So
right.
this little cutie, while we were there, like we got on Walmart.com and there was like 1,200 cross necklaces, and we went through like 5 or 6 pages, couldn't find it. I was like, no biggie. I'll just we'll let that go and we'll find something like that. And we're home from Costa Rica not too long, a week or two, and this package shows up in the mail, and it's from Erin, and it's this cross necklace that I'm wearing right now. I wear it all the time,
Oh,
right? And I just love it. And she gifted it to me and some of our other favorite girls and gal pals. But that just is who Erin is. And I just want to acknowledge you, sis, is that one of the things I love about you, I love following you because you're vivacious and bright, right? Like you guys, if you're not connected to Erin's social media, you want to be. It just like, dang, that woman infuses me. Like your energy is contagious. And it's like, oh, it's vivacious and just zing, zing, zingy. And secondly, it's like you have this great energy and you have this incredible heart, right? And you taking the time to track that down, figure it out, get it in the mail. I know how much energy it takes to like get to the freaking post office. That's like no easy task. It's not like on the way. You have to go out of your way to do that. But thank you for being the kind of woman who, supports other women, puts goodness out there in the planet. But that meant so much to me that you saw how much I loved it. And you were like, I'm going to light her up and I'm going to put some love in the mail. So thank you for being just such a great woman. And I'm glad you're in my life.
Aw, thank you so much. You make me blush a little bit.
Yeah, good.
Thank you for being so kind. All right,
Well, just
y'all.
honest.
Yep, I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. So y'all support Tiffany and follow her along, and I can't wait to hear more from you, babe. Love you.
Love you back.